you. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Welcome our guests, Sandeep and Jay.
Jay, yeah, that's right.
Okay, call the meeting to order at 10:11. Is there anything that the administration wants to add to the agenda?
No, I have nothing additional.
Okay, anybody else? Okay.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, any discussion? If not, all in favor? Motion is carried. All right, minutes of the March 14th meeting. Does anybody see anything that needs to be addressed there? If not,
I'd move that we adopt the minutes as presented.
okay.
Minutes from March 14th, 2023.
Okay, thank you, Al. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, we'll go into our, we may as well go right into our delegation now, if that's okay
You're the
with you
captain.
guys. Thank you for coming out, and you guys were with us last year, so
Yeah.
you know all of us.
You've been introduced before.
Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. The time flew pretty quickly, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, isn't that true?
Yeah. So I sent the president, I guess, and helped us with the package for the meeting today. But I want to thank Don for giving us time today. Usually this is one of the busiest time for us too, with all the seating. But as you all know, this year started way earlier. We started our first seeding. First trial was seeded on April 25th, which was way, like at least 10 days for even our own little operation. We can go early whenever we could have gone, but we don't want to take the risk. But in last 6-7 years, we have never gone and seeded anything in April until this is, and we were worried too when we seeded. Moisture was at, depleting 6 inch, or usually we will worry about like, oh, we are too moist and wait for another 10 days and then we'll come and seed. But it was pretty dry start. Last weekend we got 6/10 of rain in Westlock office. I don't know how much it was on the field, but I hope that will give a good start for our trial work. So my name is Sandeep Nan, as you already mentioned, and I am general manager. And if we move to the next, for grow team, we are producer on board. We have 11 board of director. This year we had a little changeover. We got 2 new directors, and that last year we had 10 board of director, and this year we got the all 11. So one director has to leave because she was a counselor in Thornhill County. So just to avoid the conflict, I guess she stepped down. But we have 5 full-time staff right now. Jay is here with me. He's our soil conservation analyst, and then Kabul, he's research coordination. Rick Tarasik, he's our field supervisor. He's the backbone of the whole operation, and he fixed things and put things on the ground. And we recently hired Stacy Murray. Some of you might know her from 4-H involvements, and she will be our outreach officer. She started middle of March. Officially started at April 1st. So it's brand new. She will be sending you a lot of more email, maybe some phone call. We are revamping some of our extension strategies for going forward. And we have 3 or 4 summers to run to help us run all the project work we plan. Our motto is grow, take the risk, so that farmer, producer don't have to take it. So we are always open to, any idea, even to the extent of a little bit on crazy side, and try it on a small scale. see if it makes sense to, go bigger, or, if it's just a crazy, then you don't have to. So idea, because we can afford to take that risk and we have the funding, we get the trial project funded to even prove sometime that, hey, this theory don't work. And sometime idea comes from producer, like recently we had a livestock committee meeting, and the 11 members were suggesting that government is spending so much money on, introducing legumes into existing sod, but how, how best it should be done, how effective it is, and it's just a program where you just, get the money and you do it, otherwise you will not do it. So some of those, that doesn't sound like an innovative project, but this is a project demand coming from the producer that it's needed for now. And if we have the option, we can get those results. We have results from this kind of research. It can go back to the some of the policy maker, and they can
Just a question on that. That's like a sod seeding, or so is that to reduce the carbon footprint, like so that they don't work it up again?
yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, no, and government, last two program, if you involved with on agriculture side was, what was the previous one last year? Oh, On-Farm Climate Action Fund.
Okay, yep.
And
Okay.
that program funds up to 75,000 for producer to try, more legume into your existing pasture. And that was over and done on March 31st, and the new program, they just changed the name now, it's called Resilient Agriculture Landscape Program, RALP. They pay producer based on per acre. The idea is same, you want to try more legume into your pasture, and they will pay for the seeding cost, seed. Limit is up to 150,000 per farm.
Would there be any interest in revitalization of existing hay crops?
Yeah, we are working on a trial on that project. We sent it to RDR for funding, and that will be a province-wide, all group are involved. Because feed shortage is very imminent throughout Alberta, all the way from southern Alberta to all the way to Peace. So we are working, and because it's a transition year between the governments, and so we didn't get the funding for this summer, but we are hoping. The project idea looks good, and a lot of producers have asked it. So we are working on taking those input, put in the proposal, be ready the day when they open the door for the funding.
Okay, how would we, as an organization, get producers involved with you in a program like that?
Yeah, so with us, the easiest way is to, we try to promote the program which government is already funding, like as I mentioned, RAL and Sustainable CAP. That will be the new name for the Canadian Agriculture Partnership. It was CAP earlier, now they are calling it Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership, so SCAP. Officially it's open from April 1st. Even RALP is open from April 1st and is retroactive all the way till January of this year. So if you have purchased seed and you want to try that thing this year, you still can get the money back to apply for these funds. And so you can call our office, get the information. We don't do like one-on-one form filling, but we can guide you, what are the things you need to do. Luckily, if you're a little bit tax savvy, or I will say if you have a smartphone, it's way easier for you to fill these applications, because some of them need satellite pictures or geotagging, and if you there are a lot of they are acting as filling up application. I think the TP Ag designation is also included in the proposal. So the cost to hire a contractor to fill your application is part of application. So you can hire someone expert and get things done on other side too.
We're pushing the envelope a little bit with the RALP program in that doesn't specifically allow us to go into sod.
Yeah.
It's more of this is a cropland that's turned into pasture and that sort of thing, or hayland. But we are trying to throw an application in that will be very close to a sod seeding application. So we're gonna give that a try, and we've got some very innovative cover crops that we're working on, everything from forage soy to mung beans to all sorts of things going in there. We will hopefully have some good funding results from that, and then we can be reporting those results too. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, just so I understand that process, I guess, we're talking about converting pasture, seeding a legume, and then that legume would be harvested?
Yeah,
Okay, so then that land is no longer, it's not growing hay, it's not pasturing any animals, etc.
It would be pasture, pasture or hayland, whichever the farmer decides to do.
Okay,
And that certainly
so it
is-
just augments the.
augments, yeah.
Okay, so I guess my second question is it seems like an absolute no-brainer. Like, why would you not accept funding to give that a try? What is the possible negative effect? Maybe Ryan has the answer.
Well, the off-calf, it exclusively said in that you couldn't do it on hayland. It had to be pasture only,
Yeah.
and it has to be like deeded pasture, can't be.
Okay,
So, yeah, so the off-cap has little limitation. The new program like Ralph is a little bit more open. Because they are paying per acre, so it's like, it's not a blanket 75,000 check. So they want to see things like if you are really going and seeding and, making those changes. And I will not even say changes, as you mentioned, like, it's always good to go and seed, forage into your, forage mix into, even if I don't know if the alfalfa seeding is allowable in an annual crop, so some of the things you are already doing it. It's just write on a paper, fill those check boxes and get the check.
And we're already working with a number of producers to
Yeah.
help them fill out their RALP applications. And with any luck, we'll be able to act as the guide and try and get some information to spread amongst other producers as well. But we're certainly not gonna turn anybody down if they have some good
I
ideas.
can send you might have, or I can send the detail of the RAL program and
I
about.
have it already.
Yeah.
Good.
And if they have a presentation which was pretty good, I guess it's online and that has covered examples too, like if you want to try introducing legume, they gives you what are the things you need. So, one thing is like, they only have the option, like select from the bottom menu kind of thing. You can be innovative, you just have to go and select the options and fill the form. So it's easier one way that you don't have to be, you just select it and fill it.
So is there like, if you're doing the program with the farmer, do you collect the data of
Yeah.
what happens there then?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
good.
coming to that point, we are working on intercropping this year with a couple of producers because that was last year we started working and there was plan from last year that, hey, we need to see more intercropping and see, with the long season, we might be okay to try some crazy stuff here. And we don't want to take 100% risk, so try those things in intercrop where maybe you get one crop out of two and you still have, you're not breaking the bank all the way, but you have the advantage of putting a legume into cereal or oil seed crop. And we specifically not choose canola and peas in that mix so that you don't shorten your rotation. So we made 13 different mixes, we try on a plot and then we thought we'll take, so we are working with producer because intercropping was one of the RALP checklist, and the intercropping, the farmer will be doing the intercropping because we can't do, so they will be seeding and we will be helping them to, guiding them and collecting all the data for soil health, soil sampling, and then maybe yield, because we have a yield wagon, we can take, farmers have yield monitor and their combines too, so we can, if they're good enough, confident enough, and we are comparing one thing to the other, we don't need absolute number here, So if you see like there is improvement in your overall productivity of farm by 10%, 20%, that's all good to know. So that program, that is one thing we are actively involved this year, and we'll be working with producers. So 2 or 3 producers on different intercropping. Some corn is getting a little bit popular too, so corn intercropping in different space. We had a couple trial with 15-inch row spacing to 40-inch row spacing to the seeding by air seeder and comparing those.
A large portion of what I do is involving soil health as well. So we're looking at microbial changes over time with different crops and different cropping methods, such as maybe throwing some winter cereals in and having living roots that will go well into the fall and into next year as well. So we're doing those sorts of things to try and see what differences come out. And then we can start recommendations from there.
Great. So just to give you a summary, like what we did last year, I'll quickly go through, and we have a couple, I bought 4 of the booklets for the annual report from last year. We did, if you need, and if you're tech savvy, I can send you on like a PDF link, you can read anytime. But if you need a booklet, I will leave 4 copy with the down here, and you can glance over on some of the results of the maybe 20-ish trial we have published in the report. So last year we had almost about touching 3,000 plot work. One of the busiest year for us. We tried wheat, oat, barley, triticale, winter wheat, fall rye, flax, yellow, green pea, faba bean, hemp was the new crop we tried last year in our grow area work, and we tried lupin trials, and lupin was pretty good legume option. Again, they are similar to yellow peas, so you don't have to do much change on your farm. If you are growing yellow pea, you can grow lupin, and lupin also works in a phanomyces affected land, so this phanomyces resistant. And then we tried some of the crazy stuff like winter oat, winter peas, winter lentil, winter camelina. And those demo plots, when I went last time, they were not looking as great as we thought, except camelina, the winter camelina was, maybe it was emerging more in the spring this year. But winter wheat and winter barley, they started pretty well, but all 4 leaf frost hit. And after our winter, we saw they were all like dehydrated, like freeze dried. So I don't know if they will be alive after this moisture situation, because it seems like they're dry now and cold. So how they will stay. But I'll update you maybe in next meeting how they turned out. Or maybe this year we'll try to seed them a little early just to see. We seeded in September 20th last year. On forest side, we have silage trial, forest trial, grass mix trial, and I'll just quickly glance on all these so that I don't want to spend too much time like the things which I already mentioned to in my last meeting. But Grow has a pasture of 160 acres where we try some rotational grazing compared to different cell design, fencing, watering type, and we are building up that as an educational demonstration setup. And there is a video on YouTube channel for Gateway Research. If you go there and you can click and you can see different season, how those continuous versus mob grazing especially looks. They're side by side and they're looking day and night after 3-year comparison. And this year we were even thinking like, should we put heifers into the continuous one, because it was pretty dry until last week. I don't know how nature will play, and if we have rain, will again be on good side. On industry, we have the 40% of our work, I will say 30 to 40% work was on paid industry project from Corteva, Secan, Winfield, and yeah, those few of the companies, they are like large contributor in their so most of the companies' projects are like their own research work. They want to get the data on grave, soil zone, different independent assessment for their product. It's not like the results don't go to the public. It just stays there and they keep the information with them.
But it does help to keep our doors open. It's generally fairly lucrative work, and it's applicable work as well. We were doing one trial with a herbicide company that is good for brush control, and Don was a big help to get us started on that. We're in the third year of a 3-year project with that, just looking at the final results on the brush control work, and it's very positive. In a few years, we suspect there'll be a new brush control chemistry that'll be good for the roadside brush control that you do. So you were a part of that work, and we thank you very much for that. That was well done. Really
Yeah.
pleased with that, and that was all paid for. So that's the bottom line as well.
Yeah, and the other thing we did on, I think Woodland County was, we were doing some surveys on canola sweeping, pea leaf, cereal diseases, wheat midge also was in, and so basically collaborate with Alberta Insect and Pest Networking team, and we try to supplement what they need, so that we avoid the duplication of doing the same thing in same area by 2 people. And the one project like Jay's was actively involved in last 3 years, and we have seen some good information on that. The annual report has all the detail, but quickly we look on long-term yield and impact analysis of subpar producing area to the long-term negative area. And so Jay, you can talk about the things you did, I guess.
Sure. We did a whole bunch of different trials looking at soil health by and large for a lot of these. We've always heard that anhydrous ammonia, for example, kills your soil bugs. We haven't found that in the trials that we've found in the replicated work that we've done. We've compared a field that annually gets anhydrous applied to it compared to a neighboring field or that traditional for the most part. And if anything, we've seen more soil health in the anhydrous side than the traditional fertilizer side. Go ahead.
So this is not really related to herbicide, but there's been considerable conversation around the province about solar and wind projects severely impacting good agricultural land. And what I'm under the impression that and maybe the wind too, they haven't on the yield capability of the soil after that project would be decommissioned and it basically sterilizes the soil. Do you guys have any information on that?
Yeah, because I have heard the same thing in the association who is working out of South on, like they have a lot of windmills and because there is a little bit of vibration happening all the time and all the bugs, earthworms and insects basically get hammered by the constant humming. So there is in soil biology, especially the things which we can see on naked eyes, people are talking about, and I'm not 100% sure if anyone has done the actual research work on that, but yeah, there's a lot of people talking about that we see less earthworm in the area where we have the windmills installed compared to, and more compacted land over the time compared to where, but that was just from the couple of producers and I think the producer's observation is as valid as anyone else because it's impacting your, his field. But overall soil biology, like microbes and fungus and bacteria, how that will change, I guess we might have to see. We all know that if you don't put any living root into the ground, your biology will keep going on. So the more living, healthy root on the ground, the more better for everything. So even if you want to go with solar plant, there should be option, underseeding with something like, as more living roots are always helpful to keep the soil fertility on a sustainable level.
Sandeep's already alluded to the fact that we're part of a larger organization of research associations. We don't have a large solar farm nearby or a large wind farm nearby that can take before and after samples, but it sounds like Westlock is getting a large solar farm, and we certainly could take before and after samples
Yeah.
there, and then we'd be able to see what sort of changes happen. As we understand it, the ground will be kept on a, forage type situation under there, and we could certainly at least have a look to see whether there is an impact from the actual solar farm itself. We haven't done that yet, but I've made a note on that, and we'll see if we can contact them and try and provide some data on that as time goes on.
So just to follow that up, do you have any partner organizations, maybe in southern Alberta, that you could consult with to see if they're,
Yeah.
I think it was the wind turbines. Was
Wind turbine, I guess, and I was mentioning to wind turbine too. Like,
Yeah.
I talked, yeah,
I was gonna say, at our provincial conference and a couple of the other ones I've been to too, when they talk about the solar, they said the biggest issue they're finding with solar in a lot of areas on ag land is the heat that it produces.
Heat.
It basically, it holds the heat, it kind of cooks the surface and a lot of microbes and stuff, and they're just,
Okay.
and then that thing is that, I haven't been privy to the information on who did the studies for them, like at the, our provincial ag meeting there. But the individuals from the province are saying that they are finding that it's basically cooks the surface and it doesn't have that nutrients left in the ground.
We can certainly do some independent local research on that as well, and see if we can do that. The Battle River Research Group, one of our sister organizations, works in Painter County as well,
Yeah.
and they have a very large wind farm there. Wind network, if you will, it covers several sections. They might be able to verify some of that research that was done. Sorry, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, no, one of the things that we've had a conversation about at the rural municipalities level is that we would like to see the conversation change from wind and solar farms to wind and solar industrial installations, because it's just that it just doesn't fit, you know. And I know that there's probably gonna be a resolution drafted somewhere to have that change, because it's really not,
Yeah.
that's, you know, we shouldn't be equating that industrial, you know, we could call an oil refinery farm. you know,
Oil
because
farm,
they-
yeah.
Because they take up agricultural land space, right?
Gotcha.
So,
Okay, we might start using that terminology, that's okay.
yeah, it's just a thought.
and to your question, yeah, maybe we'll try to get information from if anyone from Foothills Forage Association or someone has done any work on the actual soil testing work on comparing the windmill. But yeah, the soil compaction and large number of earthworm was basically, it was a known fact.
Yeah, that's really good information that, you know, that we could all start to have in our organizations, so thank you for that.
Back to the slide before this about all your different trials. Did you guys continue with the perennial wheat and rye trial this year?
Yes.
How does it look this spring?
Okay, that was, no, we can keep continuing,
that
I
in-
guess.
okay.
I'll answer you that in 1 minute. So I'll, it's a very good slide, the previous one, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I'll talk about the project we ended, like last year, as I mentioned, the CAP was ending 4-year cycle. So, and all the project usually are 4-year life, like this new program is starting from 23 all the way 27. And the first year will be, as we all know, it's also aligns with our provincial election cycle. So usually the first year don't have actual work. So we thought, use it as a planning year for us too. And year 27 will be like most of the project, whatever we plan today or this year will be ending. So 23 was one of those years, like everything ended. We have about 10 or 11 projects funded through RDAR, and we were working with different partners on those, and all those results are again in the annual report. But I'll just glance the name of the project, so it gives you interest, like if you want to read the annual report or not. So the one was impact of soil pH, like put all the way up to 7.2 on crop yield, wheat, canola, pea rotation, and the club root impact. And we saw very good results, on, using hydrated lime specifically to reduce the club root spore level, as well as, and nature also helped. Last 2 years, we were a little drier side, and with liming and dry situation, club root was not problem at all. Like in 2023, you can see club root control as well as the limed one. But the picture here was the 2021 year, and if you look deeply, the control was all dead plant, and the same time, the 100% hydrated lime was all full green. So there was, research says yes, it's work. Then the question comes like economics. Hydrated lime is pretty expensive. I think $25 per ton, and you would need about 1 ton per acre. Then it's very hard to apply. It's very powdery stuff, and so it's a nightmare to apply. And so how, you can use it. So suggestion will be talking to the other researcher from University of Alberta who were part of this study. It can be a good tool for your patch management. Like if you know club root is coming and entering your field, the first spot it will up is in low spots where the water is standing, because water will take the spore, and spore like to swim, and they will be in the low spots. So you pull your plants, canola plants on the low spots, and if you have the galls, you're having trouble.
On the perennial cereal crops, we didn't have a great year last year. For some reason, we had just ridiculously bad ergot in the perennial rye. And the perennial wheat, we did okay, but there's still a difference or a shortage of bushel weight on the perennial wheat. And we're concerned that those 2 plots are failing. So what we've done this year is that we've decided to go with some calcium. We took soil samples, of course, and the pH was 5.4, so we worried that might be too low for the cereals to survive long term. So we're trying a combination of a variety of trials to see if we can perk it back up. So we've got some agricultural lime that we're putting on. We've got some recommended fertilities that we're putting on in different strips. And we've also got the organic solution of going with some clovers to try and regenerate the nutrients in the soil from the clovers. Doing those alone and in combination, and we'll see if we can have the plots continue on for a few years. So we're concerned, but hopefully we'll be able to get the perennials back up and running this year.
So the perennial plots we had, they were seeded in 2020, and last year was the 3rd harvest year, and there was no fertilizer added over the first. When they were seeded, we used for the soil in 2020, and for the 3rd year, no fertilizer, no chemical, no spray, and there was no need of any. They are pretty good in controlling weed.
That's right.
There was no weed at all, especially in perennial rye and even perennial wheat. So wheat stand is getting stronger and stronger over the 3 year. We noticed like it's performing. The biomass is more, even though the yield is getting down. And the reason will be maybe because we are short in nutrition now over the time. So that's why we designed those amendment to see our theory, like if it,
You said the biomass was more?
The biomass, I meant like they were getting taller,
Okay,
and the grain production was less.
okay.
So
Okay.
when we harvested, the yields were getting lower, but the stand is looking more stronger, robust every year, and they are withstanding that. The best land, it's 5.7 pH to start with, and very clay soil, and we have pretty dry situation.
Okay.
So overall, I say perennial wheat. The corn side is they have very short seed, but if you have livestock in mix, then you still have the use for it. Don't seed it alone and try with clover, alfalfa. Alfalfa is good too. 3 year perennial wheat and alfalfa all can go. You seed once and they can supplement the nutrition also. So we are doing that trial with support from University of Alberta, PCBFA, and 3 other location, because we are expanding the 2 plots we have until last year to get more robust data set on trying this intercropping with the cereals. And then we went on one of the trial, as I suggested, our aim was to compare, like, if you seed the normal corn, normal seeding rate, and then if you go, so last year the farmer went, this was done on a farmer field, 160 acre, and 50-inch row spacing in corn, and then there was 3 row of this cover crop cocktail mix we had. So overall, the yield was pretty same on corn alone plus cocktail compared to corn alone. So the only difference was, like, we reduced the fertilizer by 50%, I guess, here, or 15, I forgot. 50% less fertilizer was put upfront when we put the corn. So the only positive thing, we are like less fertilizer, but you got the same yield of corn plus the cover crop mix. And we did a couple of intercropping trial. I already mentioned lupin, chickpea, mustard, camelina, flax, and quinoa. Except quinoa, everything else was harvested. Yield was pretty low, but the price for mustard was skyrocketing, so it still makes economic sense to try. Yeah.
With your grazing studies, have you guys done any work on the palatability of lupin or no?
Palatability
Palatability of lupins?
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah, we did like last year we tried forage lupin first year, and forage lupins were green all the way. Even though we had one of the long fall, they were still green, and we were not able to harvest without spraying them. Like they have a very long season. But did we do the feed test on lupins, or?
You know, as far as whole plant
Yeah.
forage results go, no, we did not. We just had 4 small plots, that's all we could get, and 2 different types. There certainly is potential. And the quality we would suspect would be there. There's not a lot of anti-nutritionals in them, but the nutrition from the protein standpoint would be exceptional as well, we suspect. But we haven't done the whole plant forage sampling, no.
Yeah, this year we are expanding that lupin work a little bit more, and we will have those numbers for sure.
Like, is it true that the fixation is just about double than that of a pea in a lupin?
I will not say double, like, so peas, if you give them 3 out of 10, faba bean will be about 4.5, and then lupin will be between faba bean 2 peas. Yeah, I will not say they are crossing faba bean. Some of the research work has shown on, we are also looking on, like, lupin also helps in a phosphorus exchange. Like other legumes helps in nitrogen exchange.
Yeah.
So lupin has some phosphorus cluster around the roots, which we are working with University of Alberta professor. They're gonna take some root sample and DNA. So that trial is in the plan for next year. So just to see like how much nitrogen these legumes are giving to the cereal when they are growing.
We were certainly impressed with the nodulation on the lupin plants that we pulled out. Really good. This year we are going to have some direct head-to-head comparisons between lupins and peas, and lupins and faba beans to see. And we've also got some larger scale work being done. So with any luck, we'll be able to get some good soil analysis off of those as well to see how much actual N is put into the soil. We found faba beans doing quite well. If lupins can, come closer or keep up with that, then we've really got some potential there. So we're working on that too.
And, just a selling point, like 20th July, we are having our field day, where we will have pulse and canola both. This year it will be in Irlandia, close to Irlandia Co-op. And we have the peas, faba bean, lupin seeded same day, just to see the comparison between nodules and whatnot. There's one trial we are working with the UFA on a compost and other soil amendment along with other soil amendment are compost with wood ash, compost with gypsum, compost with biochar, and compost alone, and compost with synthetic fertilizer. So we did 3 trial last year was 3 sites at Westlock, Wetaskiwin, Camrose. Grove did the agronomy work and University of Alberta did on greenhouse gas capture. They put the chamber in the plots to see like how much greenhouse gas from synthetic fertilizer compost to compared to compost is released. So last year was first year, and as we synthetic fertilizer did pretty good for the yield, and that was expected. Control, if you see my slide here, it's 46 bushel for average for all 3 sites, and compost was 55 bushel, and synthetic was 62 bushel for canola. So that was expected. When you have 100% synthetic fertilizer going on, it will make some impact. And compost usually don't give the whole nutrient right away at the first year. They have 20% release first year, and I'll say release subsequently. So this year again, we are trying the same trial again at just Westlock and Breton plots at University. This was one of publication. We can keep going. And then we are working with the Olds College with the, trying advanced breeding line on barley and triticale. So they are not the varieties, but those are the lines which all those breeders from Olds College, FCDC are working, and they think will become variety in the future. But we are providing them extra data set with our grey wooded soil zone, because Lacombe and the other site they have were mostly black soil zone around Lacombe and Olds College. So just to give that extra little bit environmental impact on their breeding line. The idea was maybe we will have some localized variety becoming more adapted, more suitable for our area or our soil type. So we got the funding just for 1 year last year. We'll see how that effort goes in future. And then we are trying those, these are continuous trial we are working from last year, and they will continue for another 3 years. We are trying some deep-rooted cover crop. So idea was to try these cover crops which are little deep-rooted and seed in a soil where you have issues with water holding capacity and soil infiltration, and then see how those parameters are changing over the time. So first year will be these cover crops. The second year will come perpendicular and seed annual crop, wheat, canolas, and peas, and a fallow which will have nothing to comparison. And then again, third year will be cover crop, fourth year will be those annual crops, and we'll compare these water infiltration, water holding, and yield.
Just a question on that. Do you do that in different soil types as well?
Yeah.
Or is some of the work being done? Because where I live, there's a lot of real sandy soil, and then we do have some clay soil. So
the one, so we had this trial going on with 4 different association.
Okay.
And yeah, like I don't know how different, like Manning guys, they might be more sandy, I guess, my feeling, and grey wooded and sandy soil.
Yeah.
So they will be a little bit more closer to what you mentioned here.
Okay.
So their results will be more applicable to you than what we have is more is a more clay and no sand. It's like pretty compacted land.
But then the reason I asked the question is because of that, because then we can get some of that data from those organizations for
Yes.
our.
So these trials, when we do, we basically all results will be clubbed, and we will have average of every association, like average of whole trial, and then average by association, so that sometime some things works for you more applicable. And we'll keep the tabs like what soil type, how much was initial compaction compared to the final compaction. So those numbers. Coming to the perennial cereal trial, last year we had the trial seeded in 2020, just was the demo plots. And then last year we got the funding to do the research work on those perennial cereal. And because we had our own seed from last 2 years, so we we didn't have to source any seed. And we made it a collaboration with 6 association with the University of Alberta, and we are trying to seed with alfalfa, sandfoin, and white clover, and intercrop with same row seeding or alternate row seeding. And then 2 utilization. So utilization means like, would you like, maybe you can take a green feed in early July, and if you have longer fall, maybe in southern Alberta situation, they can have harvest in September, October, or September end. Or for us, maybe we'll have grazing first and then use it as winter feed as a secondary growth. So we'll see how those utilization will also impact this perennial cereal. Ergot will still be a problem, and we thought maybe putting those legume in the cereal alone stand, maybe we'll be able to reduce ergot or not. We'll see that, because perennial rye is good as good first year if you don't. Here it is pretty good crop to utilize for biomass or grain, but the ergot kills all the excitement, because when it gets the ergot, it gets every seed, every plant. Last year we harvested our perennial rye, and all the seed was dumped right away to the landfill. We didn't even bring it anything. So it's too bad. It gets too bad when some of the other soil impact, soil amendment trial we already talked about, and we were working with some association. And next, and we have Humulite trial where we are trying humic acid based substance on wheat canola with the University of Alberta, and that's ongoing. For next 3 years, we will have wheat canola, peas, and canola again in 4 years. And this was just 1 year funding again for utilizing some of the winter cereals for forage and grain and impact on soil grazing. The results has not been, we didn't compile all the results for this. For grow, the forage from winter cereal was pretty good last year. So everything which was seeded in 2021, 2022 for forage point of view was pretty good, because they were able to use that early moisture, and they skipped that heat when it came. But some association it didn't go as well, so we'll see how overall that whole project result was. It was just 1 year, so we don't have that much confidence to recommend anything yet, but we'll see how that goes next. And then we are working on some of the other project with association. Keep going, I guess, sorry. And on extension side, we had a big conference organized with Alberta last year, a field day. 120 people showed up in the field day at park. We had a bug booth. Thanks to Jane. That was a stop, so it was a good effort. We did about 15 in-person event throughout. We will expand our reach this year. Our target is to, at least have 1 or 2 event in each counties our membership is. So you will see 1 or 2 event happening in Woodland County. I was thinking this room looks good too for a winter event. I don't know, we can rent or use it, but yeah, we'll put our extension effort a little bit on in-person side compared to, we were pretty high on social medias and web-based extension from last 2 years, and that was need of the time because of COVID situation. So we continue with that, but now we'll be back to more in person. On educational extension, we had, University of Alberta student coming to a couple of our field days, or the whole class is coming, and we are organizing, on-field experience for them. They can dig up canola plants and see roots and different stages and other things. So we have one tour happening in August. It was last year too, and it's coming this year too. And the RF Staples always come to time with the high school kids. They are more interested in, small combine and truck and tractor. But and drone was pretty popular, but I don't know how much they learned from wheat and barley breeding side, but yeah. It at least gives everyone wheat looks like, barley look like, and oat looks like, because sometimes that's good information too. And we have Jay working on Grant McEwen with a couple of courses on sustainability, and Jay can.
McEwen University always looks for projects that they can do, so we suggest topics that they could look at. Everything from Indigenous engagement in agriculture to food instability, all sorts of different topics that we've discussed with them, and they come up with project ideas. Some of them are more applicable to us immediately, like what we should be doing for enhancing our extension work, which was very good for our strategic planning session and that sort of a thing, so those helped as well. Yeah, got all of those things happening with the universities as well. We continue to work with them. We were also able to help Portage College, which I didn't know they had a noxious weed course up at Portage College. And so they asked us to supply them with weed seeds for a variety of the noxious and restricted weeds that we've got in the area. And so we're super stoked about that, because that helps out with future ag support staff, and even, who knows, maybe ag fieldmen down the road, to have good knowledge on these. They take the seeds, they grow them right from the seedling stage on through to maturity, and then they can see what they look like as they grow, and they probably have a better ability to identify the noxious and restricted weeds that are on the Alberta list. So we were very pleased to be able to help out with that, and we continue to look for weed seeds that they can use in the future. So that was very cool.
On digital side, as I mentioned, we have a YouTube channel with 72 different videos. This is about a month old now, so we have about 740 subscribers. I think we need 1,000 subscribers, and then you start getting a penny or something from YouTube. So we will be happy when we reach. And we had a very successful campaign on Wednesday night networking, which was targeted on livestock and forage basic on regen side. And it was well attended throughout the COVID period. And we had about 60 to 70 attendees on an average every event. To some of the Temple Grandin was here on one of our events, and we have 280-ish attendance. So it was good. We have a couple of high-ticketed speaker, and then some of them normal, just basic talks. We tried on Thursday crop talk on the same thing, like farmer producer can have interaction among each other and see what's going wrong and what's going good. I started that last year networking session on March 24th. March 24th was good. April first one was good, and then everybody got so busy that nobody has time to come to those, and we decided, summertime is not time for learning. Our idea was to, like, you can share what's happening right or wrong in that time of period, and everyone can, guide each other, like what to look on. But maybe we'll try to revamp that idea again and change the timing and maybe change the date. Or day, as you were discussing, like what day works for those kind of event. You never know, so we'll try something else. And I already mentioned we are on active and Twitter, and with about a dozen users who are giving us land to do the research trial. Don't own any land, no office, but yeah, we very fortunate to have the producer who are providing. Overall, last year I calculated we have used about 32 acres of land on our research projects, so that gets it's pretty big work. So we downsized a little bit this year, but yeah, thanks to all the retailers and the producer from the area, and thank you, last slide, for all your support we have membership from 8 counties, and Canola Council, Barley, Pulses, and Oat Growers are big supporter of Grow whole program. So the one new thing, as I previously mentioned, I know I already took too much time and I don't know how much time we have. I was planning to speak more on my strategic plan, but we have 4 years to talk on. So maybe next meeting we'll talk in depth and I'll just go over overview of what we did. So this year, we thought let's plan for next 4 year, and we got funding from ARDA to do the strategic planning sessions. So we had an independent consultant who basically, if we go to the next slide, can we go to the next slide, sorry? Yeah, and then I'll come back to the first. So the process was like he came and he interviewed about 25 to 30 people, all the way from producer to industry partners to universities and board of directors to some of the members and even staff, and then kind of made this strategic plan that what Grow need and how we can achieve it. So some of the producers' concern were like understanding and adopting quickly for the government regulation. That came as little like a top priority from producers. Like government priorities, regulations are changing, and then how producer can be active about them or adjust. So we don't know we will achieve these. This is pretty brand new. We did this session in March and we just finished like budget that will go along with this, the plans, and that is the place where we would definitely need your help to get these things done. But we are still ruminating on like what 26-page detailed report that came out of the interviews, and then we have 2 full days of workshop with whole board running from 8 to all the way 5 o'clock. It was a lot of work, a lot of discussions, and then we picked out, if we go to the next one, we picked out 4 different key capability that what Grow is doing good and what we need to do good in future. So we got a lot of positive review on the research side, on the crop sphere, that you're doing a lot of good, highly scientific, relevant research on the crop in the area, and thank you for Grow being there, looking for the new varieties and looking for the new management. But on the livestock side, there was same thing we didn't do as well. So that was something we need to, and livestock, I mean like more active research. We have a half pasture, but we haven't used much for, apart from the grazing research or forage comparison research. So we felt like there is a little bit more push on if we can see if the more genetic studies on livestock and how that will fit into like producers' need. So we still have to work with some of the other groups and researchers, because I am an animal science background person, but still, do those research, you need infrastructure, own cattle, and way more trained staff to take the blood sample and other sampling needs. So we'll see how we can collaborate with other, especially University of Alberta, to get those research work done. So first one was key capability was to be renowned. So key capability means like in end of the 2027, we want to be renowned for crop, forage, livestock research and innovation center in the area, and how we're going to achieve that. We came up with some of the plans. And the second key capability was to be respected, unbiased information exchange, because with government pulling a lot of money out of the actual research, that's third party independent research, money is going away. Who will be, unbiased research information source? So we need to be a little bit more actively playing that role and provide the information to producer on unbiased informations on the product or economy and on all things of agriculture needs. And then third key capability was having forward-thinking, highly engaged board staff and membership. And Woodland County, as our member, we would love to see more engagement from you, more suggestion from you, that what else we can do and, supplement your needs. And then last will leave how we can be expert at measuring our own impact and communicating our impact. Because that's also needed. We do good work, but if it is not communicated well to other people, then it's not of much use. So going in depth, we came up with some of the plan, and I think you have this with you. What service what are the things we can do to achieve this? One idea was we need a secure, permanent grow base of operation and develop a capital asset plan. So maybe in future we will be looking to have our own office space and at least 40 acres of land where we long-term research. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have producers who are helping us from 4 or 5 years in a row, but it will be something if we get the build in our need, then we'll be kind of self-sufficient on land use or land need base. Then re-engage our crop forest livestock committee meetings. We have the committees, but they usually meet once in a year, and you plan once in a year and then they fall apart. There's no check and balance kind of situation. So we thought of at least 2 or 3 times and have those committee little broaden. Just earlier we had only the board of directors sitting on those committee. We decided to go and include our producer members who don't have time to be director, but especially young guys, they are busy with farming and they don't have time to spend on long board meeting, but maybe they can come 1-2 hours for these committee meetings and give the idea. So that was, and that we thought it was a good idea. We started our committee meeting just before, at the start of first week of April, and I got tons of suggestions from both committees to work on for the next 3 years. And then next we want to expand on-farm field scale research, and that's also we will see some research work happening in Woodland County, because small plot work we can't go too far away without losing our quality, but on-farm field research is something we can definitely go and try with your own operation. If you're trying something new and feel like, hey, I'm doing, like we did something bale grazing versus non-bale grazing stuff in Mayerthorpe County last year. So it was pretty dry for us, but we went there, collected soil sample at 4 or 5 times, did the plant assessments and everything. So those are farm field scale trials are something we definitely can collaborate and work with you guys and get the, our role will be to get the scientific data for you, so you can tell others like it works and how it works, or if it don't work, that's also good information, And then expand our PSI commissions and association partnership. And then there was a check measure, like how we will see all these plans, and we will have a yearly go back and review on things to see like if we need to revamp or rechange our key capability. Key capabilities will be same, but how we will try to achieve those key capabilities that can change over the time. The same thing we did on the unbiased information. We will have more field days, living lab, maybe open farm days. We have online learning days, pretty successful. We'll continue that, but we'll host more community engagement events in future. And next slide, please. For forward thinking board, I think membership are always forward thinking. It's just how we communicate with them is the we need to do the effort. I might have to maybe we need to meet twice a year or maybe quarterly, or we'll see how communicate with other ASP boards and members and see what are their plan and how we can correlate and co-work with them. And last will be our that's something we don't know how to do it, like be expert at measuring and communicating your own impact. So that's something we might have to do a lot more research and thinking to achieve. Because there's no easy way to find like if the work we did has impacted economically to how many producers. So we did a survey, but surveys usually don't go well with the producer as well. So we'll see how it goes. The next, the last slide is the one pager, the strategic plan, like I mentioned. They are bullet, the same thing is written here. So if you have a suggestion, if you think how we can work together, please feel free to, now or later, send on an email and we'll try to help. But yeah. So last slide is, thank you for continuous support. Woodland County has been on and off monetary supporting us in the past, and we want to see that if you believe in our work, please say, we would love to see a long-term commitment because that will help things. And I know municipalities also changes too, so it's not easy decision to make for long-term for you, but that will definitely help us seeing that we have a plan for 4 years and how good or bad you can tell us, we are partners. So that's it. Thank you. If you want to add anything.
No, good. If we had any questions or any suggestions for us, we'd be happy to take them now. I realize that you've been very, very generous with your time, and I thank you for that.
Sorry for that.
But we appreciate not being cut off. But by all means, if there's any very short last-minute questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
The only question that I would have is what is being done with carbon mapping?
With carbon mapping?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a large project called Living Labs that we are starting with a number of producers throughout our area, where we have a baseline soil sample being taken in a number of different locations. And then there is a change process going on. They're going to try something different. And then after 3 or 4 years, we will have the final results from that trial. This is a project that is being worked on not just here in the province, from Million on down to Oyen, where we all have a number of producers doing that. So hopefully, over the 3 or 4 year period that the Living Lab is on, we will have a good handle on what we can do to work with carbon mapping and carbon sequestration. And
So we have about eight producers who have different kind of management styles on their farm, and we'll try to see like the long-term carbon sequestration and how. So they're going to go 1 meter deep. Just to give a little background here, that the project, the Living Lab, they did a pilot 3-year project before, making it a bigger scale project, and that's why we were involved with that group who is running this project, Food Water Wellness Association, and Chris Nichols is a researcher, very well renowned on soil sphere, and we saw their results and protocol felt like this we applied, and at least it gives a good idea, good number, good database for the producer to have the soil mapping in their farm. So again, they're going to do a grid-based soil sampling on a meter deep, or maybe, I think meter deep was the plan? Yeah, meter deep, and then try to run through some modeling and some other. University of Alberta already have done some modeling work previously. So idea was to feed this whole data system into one system that in the end we can have a policy change based on the carbon changes over different farming practices.
Our apologies, sorry, there's just so many projects that one slipped our list, slipped our mind, but we're definitely working on that as well.
Go ahead, Dave.
Back in, I guess it was January, there was at the crop conference, and there was another organizer, the Alberta Agrisystems Living Labs. Do you guys partner with them, or is that kind of an offshoot of you, or?
Yeah, no, so AgriSystem, Living Lab is also looking, but they're not looking carbon mapping as such.
Yeah.
They are looking for best management practices on beef and crop. So we were partner at start, but then because that was looking more on the conventional side of thing, so groups felt like, we had a couple of meetings with them too, but in the end, we were told to choose it, so we went with the carbon mapping because that was more needed for us. So the carbon mapping, that the agri-system is a bigger living lab, they have way more money, this is run by commissions from Alberta Beef and Crop Commission.
Yeah.
And they are telling producer practice change. We might help them in extension if they ask us to the program, if they need anything there. But yeah, as actively we are not involved in that.
Just a tiny bit more background in there. A couple of years ago, the federal government started talking about a Living Labs pilot project that has been happening in like Quebec and Prince Edward Island and places like that. They wanted to expand that right across Canada. So they asked for applications, and there were a number that were initially looked at, and then down to 3 that were actually accepted for Alberta. And the agri-systems, the 4R system dealing with the 4 rights of fertilizer application are one of them. And we'll help where we can, but we're focused in on, like you say, the carbon sequestration and that sort of a thing for our Living Lab project.
So basically, agri-system living lab and the federal program for sustainable Canadian partnership and RAP will be all aligned. So they will be making small practice change at your farm, and because those are approved best management practice that they will impact the carbon change. So how to have more producer involved in that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for
Thank you.
coming and giving us this presentation, because I see there was lots of questions, and hopefully our viewership that watches this understands the importance of this research. So thank you very much.
Thank you for giving us extra time.
Don, how many annual reports would you like to have?
Does anybody else want a copy?
Yeah, I would like to.
One from my office. and-
3 or 4?
There's enough, I don't think it'd be enough time.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, we'll leave all 4 for you then,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So I just move that the Ag Service Board accept Gateway Research Organization annual presentation as info.
Any more discussion? No, all in favor? That motion's carried. All right, we'll just quickly go into a couple more here, and 5.1, how are we doing with our truck stand survey?
Well, we got the results back, and we thought we had them in your package, but they didn't make
They
it for
didn't,
some
yeah.
reason.
No,
They didn't attach to the RFD properly, so
No.
I'm trying to get it for you.
Maybe could we just skip over that one for
Sure.
now and then
yeah,
come back?
that'll work, we'll
Yeah.
move on to the next one, the Ag Chronicles, 522.
So, where we go? There we go. So we did have a meeting with the group on May 3rd, so last week. A lot of the articles are done. Pardon me, and we've just got, so I've listed the articles that are completed in your package there. So I've gone through and edited a bunch, and I have a few not edited yet, but being there. And then we still have a few articles to come. Some of them are just quick articles to get done. I need to, did Mr. Dunford reach out to you?
I spoke with Mr.
Okay.
Dunford, yes.
Okay, so that's
So-
still an ongoing.
Yeah, it's an ongoing.
All right.
And I will touch base with him again, because there's a couple other things that I for the bicentennial that we're into, so.
Mhm.
I'll
Okay.
touch base with him and see how, because he has quite a bit of history on
Yeah.
that front, so,
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, our chair
yeah.
message. So the plan is to have all of these articles done by the end of May, and then we're going to have production in June, mid to late June is the plan. A big old frog in my throat. Oh
So
my
they'll be
goodness.
ready for the summer then.
Yes. The plan is so the bicentennial.
I will speak with John tomorrow. We have a meeting tomorrow evening and see whether he has something.
Yeah, Bert was gonna follow up with him as well, so. So that was, going forward, that's where we're going with that. So, like I said, plan is to have it all completed by the end of June, at the very latest. I'm going to send the articles up to Carol so she can start formatting. And we can, once we get just the format in place, she can mix and match the articles and change them however we want. But as long as she's got some idea for formatting, it'll go much quicker once we get to the production level. So yeah, that's where we're sitting with that.
Any more questions?
Will we be seeing a draft of the Chronicle before it goes to print?
We can send it out, yeah. We won't be having another meeting before it goes to print, but yeah, I can send out a draft. Sure.
Anything else?
I'll move that the Ag Service Board accept the Woodlands Agricultural Chronicles report as information.
All those in favor? And that motion's carried as well. All right. We'll go to 6.1, rural beautification awards.
Again, yep. So we're going to be putting out the calls for nominations as just kind of a gentle nudge to start looking for places throughout the summer, because we'll talk about this in likely in our September meeting. Yeah, as far as who we're going to nominate. So if you see any over the summer, just let me know. Drop me an email, text, whatever, and then I can kind of go out and hopefully get some photographs beforehand and that kind of thing. So.
Okay. Dave?
Just want to really be putting information out, say, early on Facebook or whatever too, so residents.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll be
Start
putting it
looking
out
at
in
some
Facebook and on Express. Totally gone. We'll put it out in the Express as well. We'll try to hit because June is the last Express for the summer.
Yeah.
So we'll do that in June, and then also on our Facebook page and our county website.
Right.
It'll be
Yeah, more people know
Yeah.
earlier.
very much, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yes, I'll make a motion that the Ag Service Board accept the 2023 Rural Beautification Awards report as information.
All those in favor? Carried. This will be the Ag Pioneer Award one as well. It's under the same, probably the same thing we should get, figure out.
Yeah, it's just a gentle nudge to start thinking about people. So
I
it's-
noticed you put the lists of the former ones in there already,
Yes.
so that's
Yep.
great.
Yeah, it's just that way, you know,
Yeah.
when you're thinking of people, can check and see whether or not they've actually received the award before. So.
Al?
So I just move that the Ag Service Board accept the 2023 Agricultural Pioneer Awards report as info.
All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, now we need the Ag Society request. That was for the shoot, I believe, for the cool down. Yeah,
So we've done this in the past, right? This is just perfunctory letter, basically.
Yes.
So unless people have an objection, I mean, I think we all support this, so I move that the Ag Service Board grant the request of the Fort Assiniboine Ag Society.
any discussion? If not, all in favor? That motion's carried. Okay. Now we're down to the VSI quarter report. I noticed we're well within our budget so far.
We are, yes. So that is good. Oh, stop. Computer's being a dork.
Is this kind of the normal, progression, Dawn, or is
Yeah.
this kind of early?
No, we're pretty much on par as to what, I think he puts how much above from here.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
Oh, maybe that's just the total at the end of the year that he puts in. Oh, there's a 14.2% increase in total claims in the first quarter from 2023.
That's overall though, right? Like that's
Yes, yeah,
the whole entire
Yeah.
program, not just us.
no, yeah, it's to the whole program, yeah.
So that means it's being utilized, which is
Yeah.
a good thing, so.
And we're still getting people signing up, like not on a regular basis, but we still, every now and then we get another person to sign up. So that's good that people are aware of the program and that they are using it, so.
Perfect. Anything else?
I move to, that the VSI first quarter report be accepted as information.
All those in favor? That's carried. The resolution process rating, 6.5.
So we haven't got the official, all the responses and grading, and the grading sheet is available. It doesn't have to be submitted until June, but since we likely won't have a meeting in June, I thought it'd be a good idea to look at these now. There hasn't been responses for all of the resolutions at this point. I think it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I believe, have not been responded to. But I did go on the ASB website and pull up the responses that were available. So they should be all attached there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Chair,
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sure we all read these. Does anybody have any concerns with any of them? Questions or concerns?
No.
So the process is then we just send this back to the provincial association saying that we don't have any questions or concerns?
Yeah, it was, so we would go with, accept in, what was it? No, accept them. I think there's accept and accept in principle. I think it would be just a full acceptance.
I don't mean to jump the gun, Peter, but I'm
Yeah.
just, like, there's a lot of resolutions and most
Yeah,
of them no response. So unless people have questions, I'd be prepared to move that the ASB forward the 2023 resolution grading sheet to the ASB Provincial Committee for review, it says, Don. So we're not accepting them. We're sending it for review.
We would, so our responses would be in that grading sheet going back to them.
Okay.
So we would put, so the provincial committee will send out what their thoughts are, and then they're gonna want our thoughts back, basically. So if you are in agreement with if you agree with all of the responses received, then we can just say that they have been, that we would accept those responses.
But you're gonna do that? Because, I mean, this
Yes.
RFD just says for review.
Yeah, well, we will send it back to the provincial committee
Okay.
based on your responses for that grading sheet. Right, so if you're saying there are no problems with any of the responses that we've received from the government for any of those resolutions,
So I'll change my motion then, if it's okay, you guys, that ASB board forward the 2023 resolution grading sheet to administration with our acceptance. And then you're gonna forward those on?
sure.
Well, I'm a little unclear
Your
about-
your first one would have been the same. It's, I will take and gather your responses, which
Okay.
is accept all those
Yeah.
replies, right? And then we send that to the provincial committee. So it
Okay.
will be, the board is sending it to the provincial committee, basically, but I will do it. I'll do the legwork, essentially. So,
Okay,
yeah. Your first motion would have been,
Okay, so we'll just go
Perfect.
back to the first one then.
okay.
No, it's good, it's a good discussion now,
Yeah.
because that process is kind of confusing,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
so.
So
is-
really based on from the board, we'll send them back
Yeah.
to review.
Yeah, so all of those responses that are in your package there that we've received from various levels of government,
Yeah.
you have no no issues with those, everything is good, so
No.
all the grades put in there is accept. Response.
I'm good, so we'll just go with the first motion then, please. Thanks, Jen.
Any more discussion on that motion? No, I'll call questions, everyone in favor? So that motion carries. All right. Now we need the 6.6 West Central Forest Association's report. Did you have any comment on that, Dawn?
I didn't really, other than that I had invited them to come to the meeting. Unfortunately, they do not currently have a manager in place, so, Kennedy sent me this this activity report, just so that the board had an idea of what
'Cause
kind
that
of.
used to be Becky Scott, right?
Yeah, Becky was there, and then she moved on to another position. They had someone hired, and then she's moved on now as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
Because they were the ones that were doing some of the research on the deep-rooted perennial forage. And yeah, because I was kind of interested in seeing what they had done there.
yeah,
This is something that we had talked about at our last, I believe at the last, when they were here the last time. and
yes.
Spoke with
Yeah,
us.
it would have been almost a year ago
Yeah,
that they were here last.
so I guess we have access to all of that information as a service board, so.
And they also have their annual report online as well
Right.
for West Central, so it is available in that regard too.
So has anyone else got any questions? No? I'll entertain a motion to accept that report then as information. Linda?
Move that the report from West Central Forage Association be accepted as information.
Any discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. All right, we need the Green Acres Program follow-up.
Oh, we have a Green Acreages workshop tomorrow night. And we have a total of 17 acreages currently registered. We have 24 people would be in attendance, so some people registered twice because it's the husband and wife or the farm or the team or whatever you want to call it. So I've taken that and kind of skinnied down the registration list to be just to 17 acreages. So each couple will get one binder. So, but yeah, that's going to start tomorrow night at 6:30. So I'm hoping we're going to have some great information. It's basically they just get started going through the binder and then they take it away and finish it themselves. So, but Mylena will be there to kind of help guide the initial process. And then in future, the proposal is to continue to provide funding in the budget so that we can hold these annually and then still get that information out to people. We do have the primers and the other guides that are available, the toolbox they're both available in both offices. We've got some available for people. So, and people don't have to attend or a workshop. They can go online and get the information as well and still proceed from there. It's just nice to have that person to be able to answer questions, because sometimes it's not as clear as you might think.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so that's the proposal going forward, is to continue supporting the program that way.
Yeah, and I certainly see value in having the in-person so that it, you know, you can ask those questions. Those resources that you say are accessible online, do we or can we have a link on our website that would direct people there?
Yeah, for sure.
Really good point. I think it's really good because we entertained, or we had those at Milena there at our March 14th meeting. And what did you say, 24 people registered?
Yes, 24 people.
So I mean,
So
that uptake was really good, so that just shows that there's a need for it, I guess. So, that's great.
and I think the word will get out too. Like, these people will come and then they'll talk to their neighbors and stuff. And so I
It's a really good program.
agreed. So I'm hoping we'll get more people coming
Yeah.
in future as well. So, yeah.
Good. Yeah,
So I just move that we directed men to budget for future workshops to promote the Land Stewardship Center Green Acreages program.
any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, Clean Farms.
So I reached out to Clean Farms just to see what kind of capability we would have to add items into our recycling, our ag recycling. So, pardon me. When Davin got back to me, he said that we would be able to do, what did he say that we were capable of? I just gotta find it in the email. Yeah, so we would be able to, we would meet the criteria for grain bags and twine. And we could discuss further with them other kinds of plastics, but at this point, that's kind of where we would be at. So it's, I'm not exactly sure what kind of facilities we'd have to have.
But
Available.
if it's non-toxic, does it necessarily have to be stored? You know, could you have an agriculture person store that, or like?
I don't know.
From
You probably know.
just
Your
like discussion
discussions.
I've had with them and at the CARE conference, is a lot of it, if there's enough volume on the farm, they'll do farm pickups.
Right.
If people wanted to, I know this is a discussion that's also come up with the landfill authority, is they said, like, if it were brought to them, as long as it's got an area where they can keep it kind of outside, and, you know, even if it's a shed or around where it's not in direct sunlight all the time, that works for them too.
Oh, at the landfill.
Yeah, like
Okay.
they have a lot of areas where they have them at the landfill, they just have an area designated the landfill
Okay,
to kind
cool.
of store it for them to come and pick up.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Do they also have delivery points, like where you could just take it directly to the recyclers? Where are those locations?
a lot of what they talked about was, you know, like site pickups and stuff, so
Okay.
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
assuming they probably have areas where a person can take it to. I know, like, in their facility or whatever, the email they're talking about twine and green bags, but I know that they do offer, and I work with a lot of other people, and they do down here, like your silage bags and
Yeah.
tarps, and they do take a lot of that in. Over last year, when things were a lot slower on the ag end, with just everything going, they were even trialing pond liners and everything to try to make go out of things, so.
The biggest is for us would be to make sure that, you know, if we can have a certain volume, that makes it worthwhile for them, you know, rather than, because that's the problem right now, is a lot of the stuff is going to landfill. So how do we shift that attitude so that we can, you know, so we know that if there's a volume, we can get some of our producers involved in this.
Well, and I think that exactly is kind of where this stemmed from, is our bins are being filled up at our transfer stations with ag plastics.
Yep.
I don't
So-
think that,
Yeah, Al, go ahead.
Did I hear you guys say that we were gonna consult with the landfill and transfer station to see if there was a designated site within those grounds that it could collect and then it
Yeah.
could get to the volume that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
I
it's
hear
something we
that?
could do going forward. Like at our site, we could, like at the Fort office, we have capability right there.
So you have room and,
Yes, yeah.
And as a couple meetings ago with the Whitecourt landfill, this actually come up as far as trying to find out what they can do, because there was a couple of members with the CARE conference, and they gave her Clean Farms gave a presentation or two, and it's something they're talking about, so they are interested in trying to see what we can do, so a lot of stuff comes in and heads there too.
Yeah, so we could definitely work together with
Yeah,
them.
I do feel that there is interest in working there together, and that might be something, you know, even talking to Andre, he works that, I might be able to work something.
Yeah, okay.
Did you have a question?
yeah, I just don't think that, like you're saying, the attitude or the, you know, what people are doing, there currently isn't any options. I
That's
think the
right.
second the option's there, you don't have to worry about the culture. People
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
sure.
There would have to be an education piece that goes out for the people that do it. If you throw, we'll say a bag full of twine and somebody throws a whole bunch of, you know, bale netting in there, they don't pull it apart. It just, the whole thing gets discarded and it's not worth
Yeah.
their time. So there would have to be an education piece that
Yeah.
goes out to the public as far as what's accepted, how it's accepted, and, you know, kind of where to bring it and how to store it. So I'm definitely for this. I feel that, you know, anything that we get out there and the less plastic in the ground is the better. And they do utilize it, and there is I guess a market for the off, well, I guess what they turn it into, a lot of pellets and everything, you know, they do have a market for it. So anytime we can reuse the plastics, I think it's good.
Yeah, and I think like that's one of the problems we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of that stuff blown around.
Yes.
Pick it up all the time because there's just no place for, the only place is landfill and guys are burning it as well.
I was gonna say, or burn it, which isn't really great
Which
either.
isn't really good
It's not a
either,
good option.
I'll go first.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about this recommended action. Like, do we perhaps want to direct administration to consult, like, Dave's talking about Andre, but to try and come up with a plan that utilizes our existing.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. Like, I feel like it's like they've been talking about this for. I've been hearing about this for 4 years.
Sure.
And it's like just to try and get a bin. You know.
Okay.
That's,
I just another piece of when as far as what we'll say ag plastics and stuff, Clean Farms currently pulls all like plastics out. They've a lot of large contracts in Saskatchewan. They do it here. They are working up in the Northwest Territories in some of the areas now, which is, you know, new to experience ag. So trying to keep that area clean. When they're talking about the areas in Saskatchewan compared to Alberta, Saskatchewan tracks, they said the amount of plastic basically at the producer level, what goes out and then what comes back in. So they have better ideas, or it's a lot more regulated for what they can do with the plastics after to make sure that they don't have an issue with the farms. Unfortunately, in Alberta, we don't have that. So they said that the tonnage for what comes in, you typically seems to be a little bit lower in Saskatchewan, but a lot of that is also education and the programs, and the provincial government there is kind of spearheading a little bit more of this instead of what we're doing here in the municipality.
Okay, so to add to what you were saying then, Alan, is maybe, you know, we can do it on a local level, like you were saying, Ryan. And then the other part of it is maybe we need to formulate a resolution that we get the provincial government to put in place some kind of a mechanism to track that volume in and out.
I think they've done resolutions in the past regarding
Okay,
that.
and
honestly.
that's not gotten us anywhere, so.
Well,
Well,
So, yeah, with all due respect to that, I'd like to give our local people something. You know,
Yeah,
Ryan's saying they've been waiting for
absolutely.
4 years, so.
Or you're in here and you can recycle twine.
So I'd like to move that the Ag Service Board directs administration to come back with a plan that utilizes existing landfill and transfer stations.
okay, is any more discussion on that motion? All those in favor? All right.
I do have an emergent topic for the new business.
Okay,
So in order to do that, however, I need a motion from the board, which says, because I got Corinne to send it to me,
okay.
which says, sorry,
And that's under new business, right?
it's a new business. So it's in the,
6.9, would that work?
yes. It's a request from the Whitecourt Ag Society for equipment use for their rodeo, which is in June. They forgot to send the letter in February when they wrote it. So
So they wrote it but forgot to send it?
wrote it, and I actually just received it as we were starting the meeting, so I was like,
Okay, so we need a motion first to accept
yes,
accept this into the agenda.
to be discussed as, so the wording would be, member so-and-so requests a notice of motion for the Whitecourt Ag Society equipment donation to be discussed as urgent under today's new business. And then
I
you
can make that motion.
So we'll just put it in your words, or put it in.
That sounded real good.
Okay. All right. So member Dean requests the notice of motion for the Whitecourt Ag Society equipment donation to be discussed.
All in favor of that? Okay, that's great. So now we
So-
need a motion to, like, this is very much the same as what the Ag Society before would request, it's just,
Pretty much. They're requesting the use of the post pounder, the lander, and the panels.
and I'm assuming they are going to pick them up and.
They will go through the regular process of
So we would
doing
just need
that.
a motion to donate that as a,
Yes.
so.
So I'll make that motion.
All those in favor? That one's carried. Okay. So now, we will, we have looked through the information package. Is there anything that anyone wanted to discuss on that one?
Seeing nothing, I'd move that the Ag Service Board accept the May 5th, 2023 information package as circulated.
Good. All in favor? That motion carries.
Just a question, Mr. Chair, do we have that information for that item that we had to skip over?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have that now?
Yep.
Yep, okay. We can go back to that quickly before we go into the report from our field person. So that is,
One? Yeah. The truck scale survey.
truck scale survey. So, did you send that? Can you, Or are you just gonna re,
I'm
that?
gonna pop up there.
Or are you gonna
if
put it
don't
up there?
mind. Yeah.
Oh, good, perfect. There you go.
See that far?
There you are.
I don't know. Is it okay?
So it was 40, how many?
49.
49 people, that's, I don't know about you guys, that's,
That's substantial.
43 said yes.
yeah.
Can you blow it up a little bit, Jen?
Next one, sorry?
No, can you,
Oh,
make it bigger?
I can't see from here. I apologize. That's what I thought.
Go
Just let me know if I'm
do
right.
a little bit more to the left, to the left, to the left.
How far?
More, a little, two more, one more,
This one?
next one, there.
There we go. Is that good?
So I guess that answers our question whether there's a perceived need. Does it break down by where the respondents live?
Excuse me, no, I
Ryan, didn't
didn't.
you sort of ask for that included in the survey?
Yeah,
It didn't, well, okay, so that was their answers. The purpose is in there. I thought we had asked that question in there, but I didn't see it when I was going through the.
Were you able to scroll down to some of the responses there?
We put in what distance to how far away the nearest scale is for them.
A whole lot for main cattle.
Yeah, cattle and hay, and some grain I think was in there as well. Mostly the cattle and hay though.
I know I shipped out a bunch of bison yesterday and we had to weigh the truck at the Athabasca Hunter Colony.
Really?
Yeah, it's the only place we could get a scale that was close to where we were delivering, so.
So your delivery path was on that route somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I guess in that case, that really isn't that much of a,
No,
You're
that's
on
the
your
only
way.
way we can do it,
Yeah.
you know.
you
Like
find
we-
one on the way.
Yeah, we have our own scale on the farm, so
Sure.
we scale everything singly. But then you have to verify it because it's not a
Yeah.
government approved scale. so.
Right.
But if you had to drive to Athabasca to weigh grain and then bring it back to Barhead, that doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Well, and up there, they have an arrangement with the colony they charge them, I think they charge us $15 to scale in and out.
So, question, I know there had been, we'd been given costs, right? I remember it was about 60,000 or something for it.
No,
No?
it's closer to 150,000.
Okay, my mistake. There was also potential to take the old scale at the landfill that didn't really sound like it was worth it.
Can get parts
It's
for it.
it's also a very small scale.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's not a very large scale at all.
Okay,
So
so if basically we're abandoning that, we're looking at a budget of about 150K.
that's just for the scale, yes. We'd
Wasn't
still
it-
have to
It was closer
find.
to $250,000 by the time he did the concrete and stuff.
Yeah, by the time you do the foundation work, we need to find a location as well, which may mean purchasing land, I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that we don't know what partnerships we can make yet.
Yeah,
There could be some industry partners that would, you know, we don't know that. But I think that if we know the cost, then we can start to explore
Yeah.
the.
But the other thing that we've never figured out is okay, I mean, even if we have an initial cost, there's still gonna be costs every year on that thing. From your snow removal in the wintertime, it's gotta be done easier, it's gotta be swept, it's gotta be kept clean. If people are running it off with muddy trucks and stuff and don't do it, we need somebody in the area to actually keep that thing clean. Plus recalibrations, plus maintenance, plus, it's not just a one and done, like
Yeah.
there is a lot of extra that goes
Yeah.
along with it.
Fortunately, the new ones are load bar style, not the old mechanical.
Yeah, but
So
there's
that-
still,
Oh, yeah, no, but there's still cost. Yeah, Ryan?
Has we ever looked into like any other municipalities that have done this exact project? Like, is there any other neighboring counties that have done a scale project? Or any county that has a scale for farmers?
Not that I know of. That's not to say there isn't, but not that I know of. And we've not looked into, I've not explored that at all, honestly.
I know the guys in Barhead use the sea cleaning plant one.
Yeah, like everybody I've talked to all over the province, everybody just uses some industry's scale to some nature.
Yeah, and maybe that's an option. The problem that we have at the fort is that we don't have, the gravel contractors would probably be the only ones. Which would be, you know, a partnership if you could, I know if you talk to Mabel Cosgrove, he's probably the most open to something like that. The only
Yeah.
problem is they're not open all the time. Go ahead, Al.
So for the purpose of this agenda item, essentially what I'm getting is that there's an overwhelming positive response to the survey.
Yeah,
We can accept this for review, but then we need to think about a next step, and that next step doesn't necessarily need to be decided right now.
right.
I think we still need some more information before, because it would be a taxpayer expense, and
Yeah.
we still have to come up with an idea, like, who's using it, you know, at the cost. I mean, there's money involved with it, if people are using it, it should be pay-per-use.
Also, there's the miles, 100 kilometers, 100 kilometers.
This is Alan here.
Distance of currently travel, access, 45, 50.
Yeah.
So those folks that are traveling to Barhead, they've got a load of grain or they got a load of hay, and they go and they weigh it, and then they go somewhere else with it.
Yeah, and then you gotta tear in again.
Then they have
You
to,
gotta weigh in and weigh out, right? That's the issue. If it's right there, you're coming back home again, you can tear back in.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with Dave that,
Yeah.
and I apologize, I had my numbers way out of whack.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought what I remember seeing was like the specs on a scale, and I thought it was on the order of $60,000. And notwithstanding all the prep work that needed to be done, and as you say, you know, that's really good information that the maintenance. But so I'd be prepared to make a motion to accept this as info, but I'd like to, you know, piggyback on what Dave's saying and ask administration to get a better understanding of total cost and then annual cost of operation.
This is positive here. People are actually willing to pay.
Well, I think it's just like, we have to treat that just like water and sewer. I mean, it's definitely gotta be user pay. I mean, it's just that individuals have a difficult time spending $250,000 on a scale. Isn't it?
I think what we need to do is to get more people to respond. I mean, to base a decision on 49 people is a little hard to digest, because you're definitely gonna hear the flack after the fact.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, Al, it bears a little bit more.
Yeah. And so I do have a motion.
Yep. So is there any more discussion?
Can you
on
read that back, please?
I have that you're accepting to, I'm sorry. Okay, so you have Egg Service Board to accept the truck scale survey poll results as information, but also asking administration for the overall project for the scale, including the land, maintenance, anything relating to the overall care of the scale.
So total construction cost and then annual operation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of the scale, like the West Lock Terminals, RC cleaning plant, even Schmidt Livestock, he's got one there. We could ask them what they feel the maintenance is on them. We should be able to get that information.
Don had really good info on annual maintenance.
Oh, did you?
One of the meetings with the calibration. You had a cost for the calibration from Accurate Scales.
Yeah, that was just
I don't remember that, yeah.
just the actual cost calibration, not including any kind of
Yeah, they
maintenance
gave
or
you
other
an
stuff.
annual calibration.
Yeah, he gave a full list of
Yep.
what kind of things there was on there, yeah.
I guess we're coming back with cost. If you could possibly take a look and see, other scales, what people are paying to use scales. Just on this here, a lot of people don't wanna pay more than $5-10 to weigh in. And if we have, say, 40 people a year use it a couple times at $10, that's, that doesn't even cover the calibration cost on it.
Yeah. So I have that motion on the table.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all of those in favor of that motion? Motion's carried. All right. Dawn. On Crossroads conference date?
Yeah, I can see where it's been
21?
a few months.
Yeah, but it was, like I said, it would be better coming from there, so.
The Alberta Agri-Systems, which is one I thought was really interesting, fairly similar to what the other guys here were talking about today. They do work with a lot of producers in the beef industry and grain industry, just trying to find best practices for your land, kind of moving it around, different ways to kind of shift things around, ways to keep out of wetlands, ways to, try just to benefit the land in your use, to try to help with yields and healthier planet. I thought it was a really good program. Obviously it is, and there's a whole bunch of other people kind of on board with this, but they do have a website and kind of quick video and everything on it too, if anybody wants more information that way. It had a big section about wetland protection, kind of the importance of it, making sure that if you're doing any type of spraying or anything, watching which way the watershed goes, and where just to help with the health of the wetlands, and kind of talked about the effect that farming has had on it in the past, and it's more of there is more environmentally concerned nowadays with kind of where things are, and that's kind of as part of it. They had, when I come into the last half of the weather kind of report, and they were talking, obviously this year they were talking about fairly dry spring, early spring, warm spring, which is what we're seeing. The part that was a little unnerving was they're showing moisture levels kind of across the province, and it's fairly low. So the little bit of snow that we actually ended up getting, and the fact it's been relatively dry, definitely isn't helping their numbers, and they are projecting for again another fairly dry year. So I'm hoping things change. I mean, we could all use the moisture. They talked about, kind of echoed some of the stuff that we heard at the provincial ag conference there about, the shift to agriculture kind of going northwards, and part of that, they're seeing ag in areas where we've never had ag before in Canada, and the effects of on the global supply and what we're seeing here from the conflict over in Ukraine and how that's kind of playing out across, which again was echoed in the conference too, but that was most of what I got. I only made the one day, was able to make a couple of them there due to work schedule, but the last day was pretty good, so that's what I got.
Thank you very much. Don, your report.
Okay. So we've got a lot of people out in the fields doing their seeding operations now, which is awesome. Getting a good early start on that. We attended the ADM, whoops, there's a little bit of a typo, an ADM town hall meeting with John Conrad on the 18th of April. That was a virtual meeting. So he discussed several topics, things like the Ag Service Board grant. So we've got some additional funds coming towards for that Ag Service Board grant, and we've completed the amended document, the amended agreement for that already. So we should be getting those funds soon, I hope, depending on how long it takes to get across somebody's desk at the provincial level. But so he talked about that. He talked about the new Sustainable Canada Agriculture Program, Canada Alberta, I think it is, I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, SCAP, and the RALP program. So that's, the RALP is that Sandeep was talking about, the Resilient Agricultural Lands Program. So we talked about those, a bit about the avian influenza, some of the wild boar, talked about wild boar eradication program. So no longer do they have the bounty program. It was done at beginning of the year, I think, or March of this year it was done. Sadly, the bounty program did not bring forth any kind of inputs, so I'm being facetious, but that's okay. So, but they are continuing with the trapping program and supporting that more than the bounty program, so that was positive. And then he also, sorry.
How are we doing with the trapping program?
So I got some.
I was just curious.
So since 2018, there have been 215 wild boar removed from Woodlands County through trapping. And that this represents a total of 27 trapping events, which removed 7 singles and 20 sounders. And we currently have 3 traps still actively being monitored in Woodlands County.
Did you say a total of 47?
27 trapping events, but 215
Oh, 250.
wild boar have been removed.
20 sounders, wow.
20 sounders, yeah, and then 7 singles. So they're probably males that were on the kind of thing.
Okay, so just a question to add to that. Do they think the impact is? Like, is it 10%, 50%?
Honestly, I don't think they know
They
because
don't
we
know.
don't know how many are out there,
Okay,
right? So,
okay.
unfortunate.
And that's mostly south of the Athabasca?
Mostly in the Anselmo area is where the traps are. Yep. Yeah, I think they have one not far south of 43, but they're still all in the south area.
Any pig roasts out your way, Dave?
No, unfortunately, she's not sharing them. So.
I know we can't. So yeah, that was kind of a good news story for when Hannah sent me that information. So Perry Abermanco, I don't know if you guys remember him. He's retired now, and Hannah Mackenzie's taken over. So and she's providing updates, which was awesome. He also talked a little bit about solar and wind farms on agricultural land, and there was a resolution as well that talked about that. So they're looking at not having these being put on prime agricultural land and potentially looking at crown land maybe as an option. That's kind of just, I think he's kind of throwing ideas out there, but so that's kind of where he just kind of was sitting on that topic. We've had a couple of really successful workshops in April. We had our Getting into Agriculture series the webinars. So we had 96 people registered for that, and about 40 people actually attended the live webinar. And then everybody gets the link to watch the recording afterwards. So I still believe we will have shared that information with at least 96 people. So, which was good. And it was a really good session because he was talking about pests and diseases. So it was a very good learning experience for me too, because I didn't know all those diseases and stuff. So it was awesome. It's really good. We had our drone workshop. That was a busy week because we had that on Tuesday, and then we had the drone workshop on Thursday and Friday. So for our drone workshop, we had 16 people registered, and we did that one in conjunction with the County of Barrhead. So we had probably about half and half of the people attending from each county. So we ended up having 14 people in total.
So
And
that included then not only flying the drones, rules and regulations around it.
yeah, absolutely. And then the people attending also wrote the exam, so they came away with their pilot's license.
Okay, so is there going to be value in having another one of those down the road, do you think? Or-
I think down the road, yeah. I wouldn't do it maybe again this year, but
No.
yeah, we could do an annual one. I honestly was kind of skeptical when I saw the price because it was $490. And I was like, oh, I don't know how many people are going to want to pay $500 to come to a workshop. But everybody that came, and honestly, it was a really good workshop. Like I have my pilot's license. I've taken the course before, not from this company, but the instructors were really good. It was a great refresher for me, and then it was also a really good opportunity for people to fly. So we had a couple hours during the first day where we just went into the curling rink and flew just the small drones around and did different patterns and that kind of stuff, getting used to how the controls work. And then on the last day, they spent, I want to say, 2 to 3 hours out in Walsh Park flying the drones, and people could fly they had all different kinds of sizes of drones. And you get a chance, you can fly the drones as long as you wanted, whichever ones you wanted. They did all mapping project of Walsh Park for us. And so we're going to have access to the map afterwards. So something we can pass on to
these
the
were just helicopter-like drones, not the fixed
the
wings.
quadcopters. No, they were not fixed wings. They were all quadcopters. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great opportunity for people to definitely come and get the experience as well as taking the course to get their basic license. So if they want to, they can move on to get the advanced license beyond this too. So, but for most people, for their ag requirements, like what they would need on their farms, which is kind of what this was geared towards, you probably wouldn't need your ag or your advanced unless you're close to an airport, then perhaps, but yeah. And then, as I mentioned, we have an acreages workshop on May 10th. So at the time of writing this report, we only had 12 acreages registered. So like I said, now we've got 17. So that was good. Our mountain pine beetle contractor is going to be, he should have started doing the surveying already. He is a little concerned about doing the control work right now because the equipment he uses, the wizard thingies to take off, I don't know what they're called, but to take off the bark can sometimes send sparks. So he's a little bit hesitant about getting started on the control work, but he's still pretty confident we'll be able to get everything done by the end of May. So, oh, geez, okay, that wild boar, just ignore that because clearly that's not correct. I've already given you the update on that. So we've had a couple of beaver issues coming up, and our contract chapter will start on May 15th. We've been, in the meantime, if we need to, we can work with the trappers to find solutions for that. As I mentioned, the Ag Chronicles meeting. And I also was asked to join in on a parcel density workshop with our planning and development department. So just providing that ag perspective when they're looking at subdivisions and that kind of thing. And so I was able to participate in that a little bit. Oh yeah, so we met with Alberta Transportation last Friday to talk about how we go forward with our weed control on our highways and just the process and that kind of stuff. So it's good to talk to them and if we have issues, they like us to, and obviously it's for their planning, they like us to have advanced kind of lists of where the weeds are that are occurring. But if that is not always possible because we do have things that spring up throughout the year, they're definitely willing to work with us on that. So it was nice to just make the connections and have that conversation with them. So Pond Day we're looking at doing on the May 25th at Schumann Lake, and we'll have stations for the kids. We've got the trappers coming out to do the fur bearing animals. The kids are going to talk. They're going to do a fish release as well the same day, and they'll talk about the aquatics and some of the insects and such that you find in the water. And then I'm also hoping to have an invasive species, so have Alberta Invasive Species Council come out and bring Tank the goldfish. So I don't know who's going to dress up as Tank the goldfish. Not me, but I probably will assign that to one of my summer staff. But Tank is so cute, so I think the kids will love him. And if they can bring out, I don't know if they'll be able to bring out the big models, but at the Alberta Invasive Species Conference I went to, they had models of the goldfish and how big they can get when they're living in like a containment pond or whatever, and they were massive. They were just huge. So it's definitely a good visual for the kids to see, and I'm just waiting to hear back to see if they're going to be able to make it for that day. So our no spray agreement deadline is the end of May, so we've had one new one since the advertising for that's gone out, but and then we'll be starting our spraying program about the 15th of June, and we've got a few sites to complete beforehand, including the Whitecourt Airport, and then some of the rec sites, the community services or the parks and rec sites in before we get to some of our programs. So gone over the rental equipment for the year, so we're ready for the season on that. And our summer staff started on May 1st, so Sherry's been with us for several years. I think she's 9 or 10 years now, so she's our returning staff member. And then Kiara Kramer, golly, there's lots of spelling mistakes today. So Kiara Kramer is our new person for this year. So they're both pretty excited to get started. They're at training today in Sherwood Park, so they had to get going really early this morning, but they're going to be
So is these
doing that.
local?
Kiara is from the Tiger Lily area, and
Okay,
Sherry is
that's,
in Fortisson Boyd.
Okay, so that'd be Robbie's daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yesterday actually I attended the Indigenous Cultural Awareness training, and Dave and Al were both there too, so I thought that was a really good session. I didn't really know what to expect going in, but coming out of it I think it was pretty good. So I got a lot out of it, so it's good.
What did you learn? Like just to not to hijack this, but
No, go ahead.
you know, little things that might seem inconsequential, yet they give a really good example of how that group of people was just treated differently as members of our society and as citizens of Canada. One example was, this was during the blanket ceremony. You were there for the blanket ceremony. So one of the facilitators, local guy, grew up here. His family is from the Sturgeon Lake. Dad wanted to move off the reservation, move to the community, felt better for his family. So he felt isolation here, and then when they go home to visit, he felt isolation there. And fine. We've all heard those stories and they make sense. I mean, it's understandable. But the thing that he said that absolutely astonished me was during flu season, his family and a number of other families were isolated, were quarantined in these dwellings that are down, you know, the small houses on the way into Rotary Park. So during flu season, these families, that's where you go. You're isolated. You're quarantined. Didn't happen to anybody else in this town, you know. And I mean, I've lived here my whole life. I've never heard of that. And so I talked to him afterwards. I'm like, seriously, this actually? He says, yeah. Every year we'd get quarantined. And another thing he talked about was the fact that social services could just walk into their house unannounced. They weren't allowed to lock their doors. So, you know, just make sure. And their their parents were deathly afraid that they were going to be judged as not providing the proper level of care, and they'd lose their kids. It doesn't happen to any other Canadian citizen. And it just blows me away when I hear those stories.
And they're not even from the elders. That was from people like our age.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
I was stunned, honestly.
Yeah.
So it was definitely an
It's-
eye-opening.
It's great that they're doing this
Yeah.
stuff, because it's just like you say, there's so many things that we don't know,
No.
and that information just isn't there.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
asked
great.
him, I said, so like, you play road hockey with your friends or something? He says, no, we were not, because that would be, you know, you can't let your kids go and play in the street. Yet, when I grew up, that's what you did, right? After supper, you went out and played road hockey, or you played kick the can, or whatever. And these guys just, no, mom and dad, I mean, they could have, but it was taking a risk. Because if some agent decided that that wasn't proper parenting, they were at risk of losing their children. And these are folks that had either parents or themselves that attended residential schools, so they knew full well what those implications were.
Yeah. It was absolutely an eye-opening experience for me anyway, so it was good. Yeah. So next, we've got, so Department of Fisheries and Oceans is going to be hosting an online presentation talking about providing a background for their aquatic ecosystem sectors stuff. So this is kind of be helpful when we're doing our beaver control and that kind of, and other projects that could potentially impact wetlands. So just kind of get an idea of what kind of things we're going to have to do to make sure we're in line with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans.
So that's as a service board, like how you blow your beaver dams in case, or how you do your management there?
No, it's more we have to do prior to blowing that beaver dam, just to make sure that we're not gonna do any harm, basically, and basically cutting through the red tape to get to where we can do it.
Okay.
So we've in the past, what we did is we put together a beaver dam removal plan and registered that with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, which has been okay, but they want us to make sure that we know exactly what we're doing and that we're not because we could harm like the fish, any kind of waterfowl, that kind of stuff. We don't want to blow them up and do damage that way. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we've just got some reporting to do by the end of June with the Ag Service Board grant, as well as the Mountain Pine Beetle final report. That all has to be done by the end of June. And the last thing, I will be away from work in mid-July for while I go down to Old School to teach a course. I think that's, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add, but I think that's all.
Are there any more questions for Dawn? All right.
Maybe Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the Ag Service Manager's report as information.
All those in favor? That motion's carried. So I think we've covered everything, so we have one more motion.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. Look at me like that, Peter.
Thank you. All right. Well, we covered a lot of ground in a relatively short period of time. But I think we got